watching this YouTube video. I'm like, Kokoro camp, what is this? And he's addressing a class. And this class is about to get beat down. They don't know it yet, right? They call it a shark attack or welcome party, whatever you want to call it, right? But he's talking to him. And he looks him all in the face, and he's like, rejoice in adversity. Rejoice in adversity. How do we become warriors? How do we forge our character? It's through adversity. Warriors seek and go through the severest of schools in order to forge that character.
Welcome to Burning the Ships podcast, and I'm your host, Jason Seward, and I have got a very exciting guest today. And I'll get into the intro here in a little bit, and why I'm so excited to have this gentleman on. But before we get into anything, I want to kick it off and turn it over to JJ for JJ's Joke of the Week.
Why can't a leopard hide? Because he's always spotted.
Thank you, JJ. That was a good one. All right, my guest today, and this is why I'm excited, because I get a lot of guests on here, and everybody knows the name of the podcast, Burning the Ships, and the mindset that we talk about so much on here. Well, I met this individual probably a couple months ago on a daddy-daughter retreat. So he and I, not knowing each other, along with 12 to 15 other men, brought their daughters to a place in southern Utah, and nobody knew anybody, and we all left there friends and had new relationships. But in that experience, he was wearing the hat you can see right now if you're watching this on YouTube, and my curiosity had to ask what it was for. And he started talking about an experience he had that led to a book that he wrote, and we'll get into all that. But immediately I knew I had to have him on here after a couple months of back and forth, trying to get it synced up with our calendars. Here we are. So with that, let me introduce my guest. And you guys know the show. Like, this is where we dive into stories of people who've gone all in. They burn the ships in whatever area of life that can apply to. And they've committed fully to their mission with no turning back. Today's guest knows a thing or two about what it takes to push past the limits. We've got Brad Ritter. Brad is the author of School of Grit and one of only a handful of civilians to complete SEALFIT's Kokoro camp, a 50-hour crucible designed by Navy SEALs to test your mind, body, and spirit. Brad took that life-changing experience and turned it into a mission, helping people unlock their potential through what he calls purposeful adversity. His book and coaching give practical tools to develop uncommon perseverance backed by a strong why. We're going to dig into his story, his lessons on grit, and how you can apply them to your own journey, whether in business, family, or personal growth. Brad, welcome to the show, my man.
Oh, thanks, brother. Thanks, Jason. Sorry it's taken a little bit longer to make this happen, but I'm excited to be on it.
Yeah, summertime. Life is busy. I get it.
Summertime is going time, man. Yeah, we try to pack as much stuff as possible. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's I want to take, before I turn it over to you and kind of let you dive in a little bit more about who you are and what you got going on. I bought, as soon as you told me about the book, you gave me the title of it. I pulled it up on Amazon that night. I bought it. It was at my house when I got back. So I've read through it, and I'm going to let you dive into it. And I've got a million questions about the topic of grit, but I want to start off with getting to know more of who Brad is, right? You're a husband, you're a father, and things like that. So I want to turn it over to you and kind of let you go through those things, and then we'll dive right in, my man.
Sure, man. Looking forward to it. So, Brad Ritter, I hail from Indianapolis, Indiana. I live about 25 minutes south of Indianapolis now, in a town called Greenwood. It's an awesome place to grow up. And I've been married. It'll be 20 years in October, which is just awesome, man. Looking back, so. Yeah, we're actually in the midst of planning what do we want to do for our 20-year anniversary, since it's a big one and it needs to be celebrated. And I've got two awesome kids, man. My oldest is Hallie. She is 14, and she is a freshman in high school. So she's just starting out her career in high school, so to speak. And then my son, Brody, he's 11, and he's in 6th grade, which is middle school here in our school system. So it was a big year of transitions here. with the Ritter family, with our kids going on to new schools and just getting older, man, which is, it's sad sometimes, but it's necessary as well.
Yeah, well, you definitely, I feel the same way. Getting older, and my kids are growing, and it's just all happening fast. But you seem to be very intentional about keeping that youthful mindset, that youthful energy. So I'm sure we'll get into all that. How did you and your wife meet?
So we actually met at work. I went to a commuter, not a community college, but a commuter college. It was like to say it's in Indy. But it's Indiana University. They have a branch based in Indianapolis. And a lot of the students at that time, I mean, we're talking many, many years ago. I graduated in 2002, but a lot of the students there weren't living on campus. They were, living wherever and working and kind of putting themselves through school. So that's what I did. And I was working a job at Menards. I don't know if y'all have those. It's like a home improvement store, similar to like a Lowe's or a Home Depot or something along those lines. Yeah. I think they're based out of Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken. So they're pretty heavy in the Midwest. Yeah, and she was a cashier, man, and I was working in the plumbing department, and she caught my eye.
Right, swooped her off her feet.
Yeah, exactly, right.
No, that's awesome, and to be married 20 years, man, that's an accomplishment. And seems like y'all are happily married and two beautiful kids. My wife, you talk about a 20-year anniversary, like it needs to be celebrated. We're 3 years away, but our 20-year anniversary trip has been planned since our first year of marriage. My wife,
Okay.
yeah, well, not by me. My wife, her bucket list is to spend like a significant amount of time in Italy. That's where her family's from and stuff like that. So we'll probably do a 2-week trip to Italy, and we're probably around Europe to other places as well. But yeah, definitely one to be celebrated. So I hope y'all are able to pull that off.
Oh, thanks, brother. That sounds amazing, man. 2 weeks in Italy would be outstanding.
Yeah. So but I've been told since it was before we had any money, any plans, anything, we're going to Italy for our 20th anniversary.
Okay. Well, you know where you're going.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. So, well, cool, man. So, you met your wife working there. Where did, obviously y'all started dating, got engaged, got married. So where did life take you guys from there?
Life took us to, we lived in an apartment for about a year, struggling to get by a little bit, trying to find a place to call home. And we ended up building our first house, which was really, really cool. And she was starting her career as a school teacher. So she's been a school teacher for, I believe, 18 years now, which is cool, which I believe your wife is a school teacher as well. Yeah. What grade does she teach? I didn't even ask.
The last 5 or 6 years has been second grade.
Okay.
Prior to that, she was in the public schools here locally as a special education teacher. So that ranged from, the pre-K to K, and then all the way up to like middle school, working with emotionally disturbed kids. So she's kind of worked in a lot of different areas, but most recently second grade.
That's awesome. Very similar. My wife started off in second grade, and then she became instructional coach, and then she took a couple years off, just seeing if the grass is greener on the other side, trying to get into corporate America. I think her heart's always been into teaching, so she actually just went back into the classroom this year as a special education in middle school, 6th graders.
Yeah.
So she's growing and putting herself in uncomfortable situations, new school building, never been in middle school. It's always been elementary school, which can be slightly different, but she loves it, man. She's so good at what she does.
It's funny, man, with teachers, and I got to highlight this because it's consistent with just about everyone I meet, but obviously they don't do it for the money, right? They don't make much money doing what they do. My wife, I have basically for the last 10 years begged her, like, just, you don't have to do this. You don't have to go back to work. Like, we're okay. And I think that, and your wife's probably the same, she would probably pay the school to allow her to come and teach. Like, she just loved it that much. And she coaches different things and stuff like that. But, and that type of passion, man, like, isn't that what we're all looking for? Like something that was that passionate about that we, and fortunately they do get paid. It's not enough, but yeah, it's I've always admired that passion that teachers have, and that could be applied to a bunch of different service members and stuff like that. Like they're not doing it for the pay, and so kudos to your wife.
Yeah, likewise, brother. So yeah, that was our career trajectory, so to speak. So she was, she knew what she wanted to do. I still had no idea what I wanted to be after I grew up, even after getting a education, which I majored in. I didn't know what to do either. So my dad actually had a really wise suggestion. He said, just get a degree in business. It's so applicable to everything. So that's what I did. I got a degree in marketing, and sometimes I feel like I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. but I've got, man, I've been fortunate. I've worked in several industries, been in sales in a lot of those industries, but man, it's been a bumpy road at times, dude. A lot of humble pie, humble beginnings, which I think super important. A lot of grinding away, burning the candle at both ends of the stick, so to speak. And man, when I graduated school, I had a heck of a time getting a job. Actually, I just couldn't get one. I always heard, nah, you don't have any experience and blah, whatever the excuse was. So my first actual job was, I worked an internship. This is after college, mind you. I've got a degree. So I'm working an internship just to get so-called experience, doing inside sales for a market research company, working in a cube, making phone calls, do the most boring job in the world. But I needed insurance, man, because I was like 22. And so I was working at FedEx at night, the graveyard shift, going in at 11 and working till 3. Dude, I did that for a year, and golly, did it suck. But it taught me, like, just the mindset of being there in FedEx, like, scanning boxes, doing just the most monotonous stuff. Just, I felt like the world owed me, because I got this degree now, right, and I'm employable. But the world doesn't owe you anything, as you know. Yeah. And that was the first time I actually learned that lesson, right? It's a grind. You got to go after what it is you want to do, man. So
did you recognize it at the time though? Like is that in hindsight?
It was in hindsight, but I started to, at first, no, I was mad at the world, like, woe is me, wanting to blame everything, wanting to blame the economy or whoever I could blame, right? Instead of myself. I mean, I had to own it. I had to own the situation. And it took a good probably 6 months, I'd say, half a year to really figure out the next trajectory of, like, man, what do I really want to do? What don't I want to do? I know I don't want to work here the rest of my life. I know that, right? And I know I don't like inside sales. So that's what led me to going into outside sales, like B2B type stuff. And that's what my dad did and made a career of it. He did sales for 45 years. So it's kind of in my blood a little bit. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, I mean, humble beginnings, dude, for sure. But I tell you what, I wouldn't trade that for the world, because it just teaches you so much. You don't think about it sometimes at the time, but hindsight, when you reflect back, you're like, dang, you know what? I really learned how to work hard and actually be okay with a little bit of sleep deprivation. Because, dude, my circadian rhythm was all sorts of screwed up. I mean, I would go to bed, I would go to sleep, early evening for whatever, 4 hours maybe, if I could get 4 hours, and wake up, go graveyard shift, work that. Come home, maybe sleep 2 hours, and then go work 8 to 5 in a cube. Like, it was bad. But physically, like, wasn't working out, wasn't taking care of my body. I was a wreck, man.
Yeah.
I was not a pleasant human being to be around. I can tell you that much.
Were you prior to that, like back to high school, were you an athlete?
I was. Yeah, I was a baseball player.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for you to go from probably active year round and whatever you were doing to that type of grind where you get through college and then you go through that type of grind where you're not able to activate your body physically, and you weren't doing that, it doesn't sound like, but also that mental drain of just lack of sleep, like everything's being compromised. So
yeah,
that had to be
lack of sleep is real, man. Like, that's no joke. later experience that as a new parent at some point too, right? If your listeners have had kids, or if they haven't had kids, sleep deprivation is a real thing. You'll see it then too, right? And just being able to operate and keep the house afloat and try to be somewhat positive and pleasant to be around, because it's real easy to fall into that trap of not being so nice. So
yeah, I was listening. I don't know if you're familiar with Sean Ryan. He has a good podcast.
Yeah, I love his
but
podcast.
he had a Vietnam vet on there that was a SOG guy, which if you're familiar with that, like the elite spec.
SOG, yeah.
Yep. So he was talking about sleep deprivation. He was talking about like referring to a lot of studies they've done since those times, right? They didn't know the science behind it back then, but now he was referring to studies about how the scariest thing about sleep deprivation is everybody they study that they put them against people that are getting adequate sleep and people that are being kept awake. You reach this several hour point where people are not aware of the decrease of cognitive ability, but it goes down like 50%. So that's a real dangerous area where people are like in your case, you probably felt okay, but your output, based off that cognitive decline, you weren't even aware of it, was 50% of operation, like normal operation. So I found that kind of interesting, and to hear you talk about it just kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. And actually, I think I saw that. That's the next podcast I'm getting ready to listen to, because I think it was a fairly new one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I love Sean Ryan stuff, man.
Yeah.
He puts out such good content. It's awesome.
Oh, that's so good. He the one I'm listening to now is with his literal best friend, but also
Instructor Rut. Yeah,
yeah.
Same here, man. So we're listening to the same stuff. So 'cause I remember Instructor Rut. He was the podcast host with Marcus Luttrell. If you ever listened to like the
I know Marcus Luttrell, but I had never listened to the podcast.
He has a podcast called Never Quit. I listened to it many, many, many years ago. I haven't heard it lately, but they were co-hosts, and at the time it was awesome, man.
Yeah.
He fires me up, man. Just hearing him talk. He's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and there's so many out there that, that do such a good job. Is why their podcasts are so good. But, so you go through that period, then you move to, more outside sales. So what did that look like?
Mm-hmm. That looked like, it was scary, actually, because, I don't know if you've done sales. Oh, everybody's a salesperson, whether they know it or not. So I like to,
right.
you're always representing yourself, but man, in sales, you got to be comfortable hearing the word no and have thick skin and not be afraid to make cold calls, whether that's, literally knocking on doors, or picking up the phone and calling, or going in and making a presentation. So it was very much trial by fire. I worked, my first job was in the liquor industry, which sounds cool. Like I got a company vehicle and, got these nice little perks like free t-shirts and stuff like that. But, it gave me my start. That's about all I'll say about that. I knew I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life either, but it gave me a leg in, and it got me used to seeing my competition day in, day out. It was a tough job. Anybody who's ever worked in the liquor industry, especially in a chain account, which we're calling grocery stores, like, great. If you sell a huge, many case deal, that's phenomenal. But guess what? You got to build it. So, I just felt like I worked at these grocery stores instead of the actual company that was cut by W-2. But it was all great experience. And then I got what I would call my first real sales job. I worked for a big company you may have heard of called Xerox.
Yep.
And man, that was training unlike any other, dude.
Selling, or were you selling copiers,
printers? I was there at the time when they used to call them MFPs. I don't know if they still call them that anymore, but multifunctional printers. It was the idea of you go into an office and someone might have, a fax, a printer, and a copier. We would sell an all-in-one device that could do all that, man. Like, that never existed before, right? So that was pretty cool to go around and sell something that's like, it's going to change your life, man. You only need this one device, not three. It's wild. Sounds so, man, I feel old talking about this stuff sometimes when you think about, like, what was cool back then. and innovative.
What year was that?
Oh, geez, that'd have
Or years?
been early 2000s, dude. Yeah, probably 2004, something like that.
I worked for Lanier selling copiers. But right before I started my insurance career, that was like I had a 4-month stint with them. It was hell, man.
Dude,
like it was,
dude, it was
but Xerox was
so
our
fun.
biggest competitor. Yeah. So
And we were at the time, we were the 800-pound gorilla.
yeah.
And we were also the most expensive. You just knew that going into it. Like, there's all these like Sharps and Laniers and Ricos that you're going up against, but they're going to undercut you by like 25%. You knew that every call.
Yeah.
So it was cool because you learned how to sell on like value and not price. I mean, price does tell a story, certainly, and you got to be somewhat competitive. But yeah, I mean, the only way you survive in that game was selling on value. But the other thing I remember too about that was like the first real sales training I'd ever been through. And dude, they would fly you to Leesburg, Virginia at this university, man. You're staying in a dorm, open up this dorm room. It's big enough to fit my luggage, dude. That's it. No TV, no nothing. The TV's in a central part to build community so that you and like your new class can build that camaraderie and stuff. It was 3 weeks. 3 weeks of training. I didn't get to go home on the weekend either, man. It was wild, man.
Yeah.
But it was so, like, I still remember it to this day. Like, it was good. It was top notch, man.
So yeah, how long did you work for them?
A couple years, because I finally kind of figured out what I thought I wanted to do with the rest of my life, and that was going to medical sales. And I didn't know that medical devices and instruments could be bought and sold to physicians. I had a couple buddies that did it and were very successful, very lucrative. And, at the time I was still very much, driven by money, to some extent. And just thought, man, that sounds great. I want to get into medical sales. So, ended up getting into that. And that was another eye opener, dude. Right. Like the training, man, was just, I've had the fortune to have like really good training in my, in my jobs. Yeah. And, ended up working, my first job in medical sales. I did, disposables for a small company, called Angiotech down there. Used to be based in Gainesville, Florida. I don't know if they still are. But again, had the product training stuff, and it was just amazing because, dude, I could walk into hospital and go talk to doctors and like show them these cool little devices and stuff. Like, I'm like, how cool is this? And then you're there watching their cases, watching them to do whatever it is they're doing. I mean, you're there, you're helping them out, you're assisting, you're possibly giving recommendations. And again, another eye opener. Like, man, here's this doctor that's been in school for, I don't know, 15 years or whatever, just depending on what their specialty is, and they're asking me what to do.
Right.
I got zero medical background, bro. Like, I don't even know if I could give you the Heimlich maneuver right now, but I know my product.
Right. Well, then you were doing a good
I
job.
was doing a good job, man. And like really building that confidence again.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's maybe something now that I'm looking back during this interview. It's like every step I took was like further building my confidence because I was pushing myself outside my comfort zone and doing things that's like I never thought in a million years I'd be doing.
Right. Well, I'm already picking up on one thing that really stands out as you walk through kind of the different stages. You keep every step of the way, you keep referring to how good of a learning experience it was, even if it was a bad experience. And I think that's a perspective worth digging into a little bit because I've over the years tried to train myself to be that way as well. So like I asked you started talking about working for FedEx and the graveyard shift and then doing the, inside sales from a cubicle every day and doing those together. But you quickly said like how much you learned what you weren't good at or how much you learned how to do this or that. And then the good experience where you actually learn by being trained properly, you talked about how good that is. So this is a tangent here, but I'd like for you to kind of dig into that perspective a little bit because that is a unique perspective to be able to even it's not unique to look at the things that truly were beneficial to you from a positive standpoint, right? The medical sales, that was positive. But to look back on your time at FedEx and these other experiences where they probably weren't that great, but to look back and reflect on what you gained from it, the positive you got out of it. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes it's not readily available or doesn't appear to you right away, especially while you're in that job. Oftentimes it takes, you'll get that perspective once you've moved away from it or you've had time to reflect and debrief on it. But yeah, I can look at, I mean, I've been fortunate to have really good careers, really good jobs. And I've also been fortunate, like you said, to have not so nice ones. And the goal with what I look at with the not so nice ones are, it set me up or it put me in a position to end up where I am today. So I'll give you an example. I had a medical sales job for a huge medical company that implanted pacemakers. You know what those are?
Yes.
And some other devices, right? Super high speed. Again, going back to the training, training was 6 months. 6 months, dude. And I would fly to St. Paul from Indy, and you'd have classroom Monday through Thursday, and you'd take a test on Friday. If you didn't get an A, you got fired right then and there. Oh, yeah.
That's a little bit of pressure.
That's probably the most pressure I've ever had from a scholastic point of view, let's say. And I mean, that was the first time in my life I saw, grown men and women, adults who have families crying because they lost their job. They weren't good enough. They weren't good enough to make it. I did make it, but quickly learned that the job wasn't what I wanted to do. And I ended up getting fired like about a year and a half into my contract. And I used to struggle to say that, like I was fired. I would tell people, "Oh, I got riffed," or whatever bull crap you wanna make up for yourself. But yeah, no, I got fired, man. I didn't really get along with my boss. They didn't trust me for whatever reason. They didn't think I was capable of doing the job, and they ended up getting rid of me. This was 3 weeks before Christmas, mind you. And I've got 2 little kids at home. I'm like, now what? And this is a message to your listeners here, or if you're seeing this, that's really when I learned the power of having a network and knowing people. And as luck would have it, man, I ended up running into an old buddy of mine from high school. We used to be thick as thieves, dude. We hadn't seen each other since we went off to college and working. And we're getting our cars serviced at a Sears Auto, which doesn't even exist anymore, right? Sears is gone, which is, again, right, feeling old.
Right.
And he's like, "Hey, man, what do he's talking about his awesome job and what he's doing. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And at first I almost said, "Oh, I'm working. Everything's good," because I was so ashamed. But I didn't, man. Something inside me was like, just tell the truth, dude. Just go up and honest. And I said, "Actually, I'm not doing so well, man." And told him I had just gotten fired. And he's like, "Wow, we have an opening I think you'd be perfect for." And he got me an interview. And, man, I worked for that company for 11 years. Completely different industry. Loved it. Grew so much. Made more money than I never made in my life. But more importantly, formed a lot of really good relationships and stuff. And I'm a big proponent that one door closes, but another one does open, man. You just gotta be able to be aware and see it and be authentic. Because had I not been authentic in that conversation and said, "Man, yeah, I just lost my job," I would never gotten that. I wouldn't even known about that opportunity. You know what I mean? So message to your listeners, just be open and honest, man. It's that whole, man in the mirror, Michael Jackson song, or I'm a big fan of, David Goggins. I read his book, Can't Hurt Me, back in whatever it was, 2021 or whenever it came out. And
19.
There you go, 19. And just having that accountability mirror, man, like just be honest, right?
Yeah.
Like if you got fired, you got fired. If you're overweight, you're overweight. Doesn't matter, right? If you think you're dumb and need to learn, like, cool, you can do it, right? Just you gotta not lie to yourself anymore,
Right.
And start.
So Yeah, you're speaking my language. I got goosebumps. So the David Goggins book, and I gotta mention this. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, but the reason I was so quick to know when that came out, it was actually end of 2018 when it released. But my wife and I took a trip between Christmas and New Year's, just the two of us, down to the Bahamas for like 3 nights. And that book had just come out, Can't Hurt Me. And I downloaded it on Audible and listened to it on the plane down there and finished it up when I got there. No book, I can pinpoint that moment as completely shifting my mindset around the stuff you're going to talk about here in a minute. Just facing adversity, doing hard things, taming, as he calls it, your inner, you know what.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure if you could constantly. I'm being very.
Oh, yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
But that, like, that book, and that led me down a road of consuming as much of that type of content as I could, like in your face, own everything, get your shit together, that kind of stuff. And I've been unwavered since then. I was decent up to that point, but realized how decent was the only thing it was. Like, I was not trying to go the extra mile, and that changed me. So I'm glad you brought that book up.
Oh, dude, I mean, you're speaking my language. He's got that chapter on even uncommon amongst uncommons.
Yeah.
Like, even when you think like, oh, dude, I'm hard charging, it's like there's always someone out there that's doing it better, doing it faster. That's just the way life is, man.
He's a psycho.
Oh, he's
and a great motivator, but at the same time, there's a lot to be pulled from that. And, people knock him about being that extreme and stuff like that. Well, look how many people he's motivated, right?
Yeah.
Look how many, I'm one of them. You sound like you're one of them. There's millions others that find inspiration. Like, what touched me the most is hearing him talk about his childhood, right? I had a rough situation with my own father and was raised by a single mother. There's a lot of adversity. So I could connect to that. And I'm like, man, if this guy goes through all that and is able to be severely overweight and then overcome all that and get to where he's at now, what the hell am I complaining about? Like, what?
Exactly.
Like, it wasn't that bad, So, anyway, that was, and this is a good time to segue, because I want to spend some time talking about your book, but I want to first talk about the SEALFIT camp that you did. So, I kind of on the fringe, I've been familiar with it, but didn't really know much about it until meeting you and learning more about it. So first, let's talk about what it was, and I'll let you do that, or what it is, what led you to it, why the hell you did it, how old you were when you did it, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Sounds good. I'll try to work backwards. So I'm 45, and I went through that camp when I was 35. So I was in my mid-30s.
10 years ago.
Yep, 10 years ago. 10 years ago, July, actually. They just had their last camp ever officially, which is kind of sad to see. But Kokoro camp is what it's called. It's Mark Divine's brainchild. Mark Divine's a mentor of mine. He actually wrote the foreword to my book, which I'm honored to have him do. And he operates two companies, SEALFIT and Unbeatable Mind. So SEALFIT was his original baby, and it was designed basically to train candidates who were interested in getting a special forces contract, whether it's going through BUDS and being a Navy SEAL, or whether it's becoming a Green Beret, or going some other tier 1, being a Delta boy or whatever. I guess I should say Marines. Obviously, they got sometimes they're overlooked. I don't know why, but they got MARSOC and all that good stuff. So anyway, he developed this program to basically train people to have a better chance of getting through that pipeline. Because for the listeners that don't know, when you go into special forces, the drop rate's pretty incredible usually. So like in the SEALs, if you've got a class of 200, you might graduate 20 at the end. So you're talking, 180 people ringing the bell, and you're talking 180 people, not just regular average Joes. Like, these are young dudes, studs, captains of the football team, elite guys. Like, why are they quitting? And Mark realized, like many of us have, As a result, it's the 6 inches between your ears. It's the mental game. Yeah, you got all the physical attributes, right? You look like a stud. You can PT. You can do all this. You can run like the wind. You can do as many push-ups as you want, pull-ups. But when you get to that moment of breaking and you are broke, are you going to ring the bell, or what's going to make you keep going and what's going to make you persevere? So that's what drew me in, man, to Mark Divine's teachings, and specifically to this camp called Kokoro Camp. So Kokoro Camp, for the listeners, it's based loosely around Hell Week, which is I think it's around, maybe it's after the first month of Buds, which is where people go to become SEALs. It's 6 months of training. But Hell Week is a week. This is 50 hours. So it starts on a Friday, ends on a Sunday, but it's constant. There's no sleep. So back to sleep deprivation. You're 100% going to have sleep deprivation because you're not sleeping during those 50 plus hours. You are fed minimally just to keep you going. But, you know, they're throwing everything at you, man, and the kitchen sink. And they're really trying to figure out, you know, where your break points are. And, but more importantly, coming along for that ride. And they don't want to just see you quit at this camp. And that's the big difference between that and actual, you know, SEAL training or Tier 1 training. They want to weed you out. They don't care. They're trying to figure out who's literally going to die before they quit. And then if you're able to be one of those select few, then we'll train you, right? Then we'll train you because we believe in you. That's where this camp differs, is people are going to quit on their own. But in those moments of quitting, the SEALs come alongside you and try to teach you the tools and tactics to help you persevere. People are still going to quit. There's still a super high attrition rate. I think Kokoro Camp was having about a 70% or 50 to 70% attrition rate, just depending on which one. Because you know, just wear and tear and the sheer volume is going to take care of itself. But it'd be very easy to make people quit, you know, and just not want to come back. But that's not the way it was designed. And I'll pause right there. That was Kokoro Camp.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Okay. So, but you're 35 when you did it. You're not trying to be a SEAL. You're not trying to be a Ranger. You're not trying to be Force or anything like that. So that leads me to the next question: is what motivated you with nothing to gain, like tangibly on the back end of this? Like you weren't prepping for anything or anything particular. What led you to do it? And what was the why behind it?
Yeah, correct, man. I had no intentions of, you know, going into the military. That was something I did aspire to do when I was younger, but didn't do it. But why I chose to do it was I was stuck, dude. I was too comfortable. I was in my early 30s, and by now I've had, you know, those successful careers. I've made money. We live in this comfortable house. I don't have a picket fence, but I don't really want a picket fence. Otherwise, I probably would have one. You know, kids are healthy and stuff. And I had this realization with myself, man, like, is this it? Is this really it? Like, is this all I'm supposed to do and go retire when I'm 65 in the Gulf of Mexico or whatever? And it really was just a lot of introspection. It wasn't any like one event that happened to like so-called wake me up. I just started listening to myself and reflecting and trying to figure out, you know what I came up with, man? This might sound funny, but maybe not. I came up with my life had been too easy up until that point. Now I just described all the adversity I'd faced in my career. What you don't know is in school, I could make friends pretty easy because I was an athlete. But I never really pushed myself scholastically. And I never really pushed myself to be the best I could be in baseball. You know what I mean?
Right.
What I discovered was, and why I say my life was on the comfortable side, when I would compare myself to other people that I met, people who parents were divorced, let's start there. My parents are happily married, still are. I never really, had to fight for food on the table. We always had a roof over our head. We weren't rich, but we weren't poor. We were middle class, right? Just kind of in the middle, that sweet spot. So didn't have to experience that. And I'm not saying I wanted or I should or any kid should experience that, but adversity teaches you stuff along the way. So I didn't have that. I was pretty healthy, so I didn't have to battle long illnesses, long hospital stays, cancer, death. I didn't have a lot of death very near to me. You know what I mean? So when I look at my life, it's like, where is this big time adversity that you hear like motivational speakers talk, like a David Goggins, right? Like he's talking and I'm just like, dude, I got nothing. I didn't experience hardly any of that. But there's a spot in his book, funny enough, where he talks about maybe what's been holding you back is that your life was too comfortable. And that registered with me because I got to grow up. I had the fortune of growing up white, middle class, Midwest, could make friends pretty easy. Now, did I get picked on in school? Sure. Everybody I think does at some point. I mean, I went through my own trials and tribulations. It wasn't all hunky-dory, but relatively speaking,
yes,
nothing compared to what some kids have to grow through, right? And I was in my early 30s, and I was like, all right, I'm on to something here. Adversity. I need to somehow find a way to invite healthy adversity into my life to really reveal, who I am. And I went online and I literally typed in world's toughest training, and up pops Kokoro camp. And Mark Devine's got a YouTube video. Man, I still remember it. This was like probably 12 years ago. But he's addressing a class. There's a class of 50 candidates who show up. Mind you, men and women can sign up for this, by the way. It's not just something for men, which is super cool. Because, man, the women that did that, they were hard as nails, dude.
Yeah.
Hard as nails. And that's why I think women are probably the toughest.
Yeah.
compared to men, man. They are.
For sure. Try giving birth. I don't.
Amen, brother. Amen. I don't want to do that. Yeah. And I'm such a pansy when I'm sick, dude. That like, hell yeah, I'm not strong compared to my wife. Hell no. She can run circles around me.
Yeah.
Love you, babe, if you're listening to this. So yeah, dude. Imagine this. Like, I get this. I'm watching this YouTube video. I'm like, Crow Camp, what is this? And he's addressing a class. And this class is about to get beat down. They don't know it yet, right? They call it a shark attack or welcome party, whatever you want to call it, right? But he's talking to him. And he looks him all in the face. And he's like, rejoice in adversity. Rejoice in adversity. How do we become warriors? How do we forge our character? It's through adversity. Warriors seek and go through the severest of schools in order to forge that character. And he's like, welcome to the severest of schools. And dude, I got goosebumps. It was just like, oh yeah, dude, I gotta go. Like, something's gonna happen there, right? I'm gonna take that magic pill, right? And like, I'm gonna see the world in a different, like, see the Matrix, right?
Yeah.
At least that's what I did believe. And that's why I signed up for it, man. It had me. I wanted something that was going to push me, not just mentally, but because I pushed myself a lot mentally through all the career training and learning different things. And I really did feel like, and still do, like I could do anything I wanted. I mean, I was able to learn at a rapid rate and able to work with doctors who were at the top of their game and feel pretty comfortable. So that gave me a lot of confidence that I could learn anything. But could I do anything I wanted? And I wanted something that was going to push me, physically, mentally, emotionally. That was it, dude. So, man, that's why I chose it.
So going into it, like looking back on it, what were you hoping to get out of it? And I think you've already talked about that a little bit. Like you had the realization that you need to create some adversity, but you went to the hardest thing possible. It wasn't like you didn't dip your toes into it and try to build to something.
No, like
a very difficult thing.
So let me preface with, I thought, okay, I'll sign up for a marathon. I did that. Like, I've done that type of stuff, right? And that's cool, man. That's like, I'm not poo-pooing that at all, but it comes and goes like super quick, right? You do it and then it's gone. And like, well, what's next? I wanted something that was just gonna, like, I don't know what the word is, but I was searching to kind of be reborn, man. Like, I had this fire inside of me, but I don't know what to do with it. I didn't have that outlet. And, so I don't know if it's like a certain word or whatever that really inspired me, or if I was looking for something specific. I guess what I was looking to really find out who I truly was deep down inside. Like, when you're at that moment of staring out into the abyss and no one's coming to save you, like, who are you then?
Right.
Like, are you one of those people that's just gonna tuck tail and quit? Or are you gonna just, by any means necessary, man, I'm gonna crawl I'm going to run. If I can't run, I'm going to walk. If I can't walk, I'm going to crawl. But like, I'm not quitting this camp.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to kick me out of here because I'm not meeting their performance standards or something like that. But I'm not quitting.
What'd you find out about yourself?
I found out I was pretty selfish, actually, because the other part of that camp that I like is it's team-based. So you are not going to make it through that crucible experience if you're like a Rambo and you're just focused on yourself. It really is about the team and the team around you and service to others. That was probably my biggest lesson learned at that camp that I still carry on to this day. It really opened up my eyes about how important helping people is and service to others. And we all know that, right? But like, why don't we do it? Why don't we do more of it? So that was the big thing, man. That was, I learned a lot of lessons, but that's probably the biggest one.
So obviously grit, that stood out to you. Like, you went through that experience, you proved to yourself a level of grit, maybe that you were seeking to find or seeking to prove to yourself. But that ended up, since that time, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's become kind of a centerpiece of your life. So take it from there. Wherever you go, how did the book come about, things like that.
Yeah. So imagine training, putting your life on hold, going all in, burning the boats, burning the ships to make it through this camp, right? Because that's what I did, man. I lived it, I breathed it. I hear this is pretty similar, obviously, for anyone going in to the military, but also if you're doing triathlons, right? You have to put in so many hours. It's very similar to that. So imagine doing all that. You go to the event and you actually crush it. And you get this euphoric thing, right? You're like, all right, this is awesome, right? Like, hey, I'm patting myself on the back, buddy. Like, great job, Brad. You did outstanding. The team did amazing, right? Because it was a team event. It wasn't just me. Mark, in his awesome way, he just has a way of commanding himself, or you got those people in your life, right? When they just speak, you listen, and it's like everything they say is just like, yes, that's gold. So he addresses my class. We started with 50, we ended with 25, right? We lost half the class. By the way, they called me Grandpa. That was my nickname because I was like 35 at the time, and there's like all these like young 20-year-old. I call them kids, but so I was Gramps. Right. So he's looking at the class. We're debriefing, and he says, "What's next?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna get something to eat. That's what's next." But no, he's like, "What's next? What are you gonna do now? You've had this transformative experience. I want you to reflect on it. Like, how are you gonna bring this into the world, man?" And dude, I struggled with that for so long because I had what's often been referred to as the arrival fallacy. A lot of people get that when they're big into setting goals and achieving them. They'll achieve it, but then it's like, man, what's next, right? They're constantly searching for that next thing and that next thing and that next thing. And I'm here to tell you, man, you're not alone. And that is very common with high achievers and people who like to set goals and crush it. So, man, I struggled with it. I thought doing like adventure races or doing something along those lines would really fill it. And those were fun, but it never really filled that void. And what I learned was I really enjoyed working with people and, again, service to others. So it opened itself up to coaching. Just naturally, like, coaching just kind of opened up. And at first it was coaching like kids sports, which I still do. And I love it. It's awesome. Although I'm sad to say my years are probably almost gone because my kids are almost too old for me to coach them anymore.
Right.
But I can still give them the mental edge, right? But it's like you need somebody else, man, who knows this sport way better than me, right? So that opened up itself to coaching men, which I've been doing for the last since 2021, and that really helps fill my cup, which is kind of how we met each other. So Larry Hagner, who had that daddy-daughter retreat that we visited, that's how I actually ended up meeting Larry. Larry had Mark Devine on his podcast because I'd never heard of Larry in the Dad's Edge. But I knew Mark, right? He was a mentor of mine, and I listened to his podcasts, and Mark had Larry on his, and I thought, man, this dad thing sounds pretty cool, because I was a young dad, and
Yeah.
we're all trying to figure out what to do. And was listening to his podcasts, and something just spoke to me, and I reached out to Larry and I said, hey man, really love what you're doing. And long story short, we ended up meeting for dinner in Indy, because it's back when he worked in medical sales too. Funny enough, I don't know if you knew that, but
I do. Yeah.
We had about 3.5-hour dinner, and he was talking about my experience at Kokoro camp, and then I'm asking him about his podcast and what he's wanting to do and open it up. He was wanting to do like a membership community at the time. And he's just like, I just don't know if I could handle it myself. And I said, oh, why? And he's like, well, I'm gonna need some help. And I was like, hey, I'll help you. I'll lead guys. Like, I'm pretty comfortable doing that. So I was his first team call leader, and did that for 4 years, man, on Fridays. So I led calls on every Friday at 10 o'clock. We called it Fight Club. So that's how I kind of got my start. That's how I met Larry, and then ended up, Larry and I obviously still keep in touch. Great dude. Larry, shout out to Larry Hagner if he's listening to this. Awesome dude. But then I started my own thing. That's where School of Grit came about. I wanted to, have my own coaching program, and then that's where the book came about too. Right? Was I wanted to kind of like what we're doing now. Like, you ever have these conversations with people? You hear something, you're like, man, that'd be really good for my kids to hear. But sometimes they don't need to hear it from me because they hear it from dad all the time. They're like,
yep.
They're like, oh, great, another time for another one of dad's lectures. So I thought, I'll write these lessons down. That's really how the book started. And then I had a rough outline, and then I just basically got kind of talked into it for some friends and family. They're like, you should turn this into a book. And I was like, I'm not an author, imposter syndrome, right? Like, who's going to listen to me? But really what got me to do it was just my wife and kids, man. It really was and still is. It's a legacy thing, man. So like, when dad's not around, this book's going to outlive me and be around forever. And I mean, maybe not everything's in there, but like, that can be some of your North Star. You know what I mean? In addition to the Bible, of course. Like, I'm hoping that's the second book that they have by their nightstand when dad's long gone, that they can like read through and be like,
yeah,
he did what? Oh, that's what they were trying to do. Oh, that's the lesson. You know what I mean?
So you're hitting on a lot of things right now that are near and dear to me. So, this podcast is one of them. I do a blog. The number one priority behind all of that, right? This is so selfish. Now it helps our business and things like that. All that stuff is great, but it's creating some evergreen content for my kids and their kids and stuff like that. And that, like, to your point, one of my flaws is I turn everything into a lecture, right? Especially with my daughter.
Yeah.
She's 13, and just everything positive, negative. I've got to take 15 minutes of just teaching her more about the details of everything and all that. It's a flaw of mine, and it's annoying. Like, it's good in some cases, but this, to your point, like your book, this podcast gives me an outlet to get all that stuff out, knowing that at some point she's going to hear bits and pieces of it. And the blog, at some point she might catch an article I write about resilience or grit or whatever it is. So I love that you articulated it that way, that was kind of a big motivator there. I didn't realize that. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, brother. It was never to be a bestseller or, I'm going to do this because that's going to be a lead magnet for. No, dude, it's out of love, and it still very much is. My coaching is still that way, man. I don't make a bunch of money off it. I do it because I love it. Like, I feel like that's what I've been called to do. And man, if you can just, like you with your podcast, if you could just change one person's mind or plant that seed and they go on and do it, like, dude, that's it, man. Like,
yeah,
mission complete, dude. That's all I need to know.
If one person hears this and they go out and get your book and read it, and that leads them down a path, or they heard our conversation about Goggins or Mark Divine or whatever, and it leads, or Larry Hagner, and it leads them somewhere that might build upon that, I'm happy. Right. And especially if it's my kids and, people I genuinely love. And with that, I kind of want to segue this mindset of grit You mentioned it earlier about you had the realization that you had not faced a lot of adversity along the way. Yeah, relative to your life, some things had been adverse, but relative to the world, very little adversity, right? So you had the epiphany of, I need to start curating this. Your children have, relative to the world, they're not facing much adversity, right? They might have school drama, they might have sports drama, tough, and having difficulties with a subject in school or something like that. My kids the same way. They're eating like kings and queens. We're traveling. We've got a nice house, nice farm, pool in the backyard, like all the things that are spoiling them rotten. So I've got my opinions on this, but I'm gonna set it up for you to elaborate what you think about this. How do we raise kids that life is not naturally giving them any adversity? It's not giving them any adversity. Where do you believe our responsibility comes in, where we have to curate adversity? We have to put them in difficult situations so they can learn to navigate them and then grit their way through it. So I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
It's
just give it right around my kids.
Oh gosh, this could be a whole nother topic of another podcast, man, for sure. So, because I love this topic, and in fact, this is where School of Grit's evolving. I'm gonna start working with kids here real soon, just because I'm seeing this, right, just through my own kids. And hey, let me back up. It's not our kids' fault, right? Like, they get blamed that they're the trophy generation. Well, who's giving the trophies, man?
Yep.
It's us. All right. So again, look in the mirror, own it. Okay. Now that we got that settled, it is not their fault. They've grown up in a generation where they don't know life before the internet. All right. They don't know payphones. Okay. They don't know life reading a map instead of a GPS on your phone.
Right.
It's not their fault, man. Like, technology's great, but it has made life pretty easy. They don't know. Well, maybe they know, but it's just so easy to pick up your phone and get a meal delivered right to your house. Whatever you want, dude, is literally a click away.
They don't know. Not to cut you off, they don't know. And I just was talking to my son's 9, so I'm trying to make connections with him. But they just recently, his iPad died when we were on a trip, and we had to be in the car for another hour, and he didn't have his iPad, and there was no books or anything around for him to do. So we're like, can I have your phone? Can I have your phone? And like, no, buddy. He's like, what did you do when your iPad? I didn't have an iPad, man.
That's right.
Like, I had to walk him through, like, look up in the sky, look at these clouds, and try to pretend you're seeing different things, and tell me what you're seeing. And for the next 45 minutes, he realized, like, oh, there are things out the window I can look at, but they don't know these things, that we experience, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They want everything right away. There's zero patience. I mean, 100%, dude. Yes, and yes. Okay. And you know what? I'd probably be the same way if I had all this tech around. I mean, they don't even ride their bikes anywhere. They have the e-bikes, right? They go 30 miles an hour, and kids ride them without a helmet. Anyway, I'm not going down that path. So yeah, to your question, how do we instill that? I know how I choose to instill that, and that's just two primary foundations we have in our life. One's been around for a while, and the other has been around for a while. I kind of stopped, but just recently got back into it. So I'll go with the first one. Is physical fitness. I'm just such a proponent of physical fitness, dude. I don't care what your jam is. It doesn't have to be CrossFit or whatever. I do like CrossFit, but I like everything. But like, find your jam, man. Like, my wife does Pilates. She loves it, dude. She goes 5 or 6 times a week. I kind of do my own thing. I have a garage gym that I've built over the course of time, but that was one of the big reasons I put a gym in the garage versus me going to like a La Fitness or something like that, is because I wanted them to see daddy working hard and sweating and putting in the equity. And then, what happens? They usually end up, hey, can I work out with you? Why, yes, you can. What would you like to do? Here's your little whiteboard. You can write your workouts. You can do what you want. Or if they're older, it's like, I'll put you through a workout. Yeah, like, let's go. Let's go. Now, I don't try to crush their soul. I think, though, there's a time to do that so they can realize where their limits are. So, I just go to physical fitness because it's much more about, it's not like looking good and stuff and muscles. That just comes with it, hopefully, if you're eating decent. But man, it's just, to me, it's that mental and emotional edge that that working out hard does. That's why I love it, dude. And to me, there's something spiritual about it as well. So that's the first thing. Physical fitness is what I instill. And then the second, I just kind of hit on spiritual. So I grew up Catholic. Quick story: grew up Catholic. Went to Catholic grade school. We had religion. It was taught. It was a course, dude. I went to church every Sunday, and then kind of life happens, man. I started playing baseball. That was on the weekend. I started working. That was on the weekend. So, dude, I got out of going to church. And, but still Christian, still absolutely a believer, right? Just not practicing my faith very much. And, man, my daughter, Hallie, God bless her. She's the one that came up to mom and me. And she's like, Dad, I want to know God. Can we start going to church? And I'm like, dude, I cannot believe I've missed this piece with my kids. So, man, we've been going to church regularly for I'm telling you, it's still pretty new, last 3 months. And dude, we're going to like the church everybody makes fun of, right? The one down the road that's huge and everybody thinks it's a cult. But I'm like, dude, if that's where you want to go, like, let's go. But man, the message is so good and the kids love it. I'm like, all right, it is all good, baby. And man, that's the more I've dug into to church and reading the Bible and all that. And hey, dude, I am not perfect, dude. There's many days I don't touch it or whatever, but I do at night always say a prayer with my wife. We always get on our knees and pray at night by our kids' bedside because I want them to have that foundation, dude, because you need something to fall back on, bro.
Yeah.
And I talk about that in the book too, man. I had a chapter on it. It's called The Conversation with God. Yeah. I hadn't talked to him in a while, but I was in a very broken place. I thought I was going to quit. And he answered my prayer in a strange way. So, yeah, man, that's two things I would say. Fitness and faith is what I would probably boil that down to.
I like it. The fitness piece of it, couldn't agree more. The faith piece of it, that, I agree as well. There's, and that, again, we could spend another hour talking about both of these, but there's just something about the importance of having the awareness that it's not just us, right? It's not just me, right? You got to have gratitude for everything around you and whatever source you believe that comes from, lean into it, right? And that's very important to live in this bubble of it's just me, it's my bubble. I don't care about what influences it. I don't care about what created it. That's a rough place to be. So I think you're leaning in on two important things there. The fitness piece of it is funny. You talk about like putting them through workouts. I do the same thing. Fitness is a very big piece of our household, right? And it's in their face every day because I work out every day in some form or fashion, and a lot of times it's in front of them. But my daughter in particular, my son, he can run laps around anybody in the world. He's just got lots of energy, so it's hard to break him. But my daughter, this might have been 2 weeks ago. I don't remember the exact workout, but it was like 20 rounds of something, right? Every minute on the minute. Oh, we were doing thrusters where, you're down and,
who doesn't love thrusters, man?
Right. And the way we set it up, we did it like a ladder type thing. You did 1 rep and then 2 reps and then 3 reps all the way to 20. Well, I got to I asked her if she wanted to do it, not thinking that she would complete it. I think she had like 7.5 pound dumbbells. And I had like 35 pounds, whatever, but that's a lot for her. By round 16, I could not push the weight up anymore. She's flying through it, talking crap to me the whole time. But like that kind of stuff she'll never forget that one experience, right?
Yep.
We were working out. She was putting herself through torture, but she was doing it with dad. And to your point, like not necessarily forcing them to do it, but just setting the model. Like, who's your son's biggest hero and your daughter's biggest hero? It's you and your wife, right?
I hope
Well,
they answer that, brother.
Right.
If they answer that, then I've done my job, dude. Like,
Yeah.
cool.
And like, who doesn't want to emulate their heroes? And if their heroes are getting after it every day and living this life of grit and all the things that they're preaching about and actually living it, they're going to want to emulate that. So there's no better example. And same thing with, like, if their heroes are getting down on their knees and praying every night and have something to believe in, they want to follow that path naturally as well. So I think I love those two things, how you simplified it, broke it down. So where, and we'll start wrapping things up, Brad. Again, I could carry this on because I got so many things I want to get into.
Hey, we can do a round 2 at some point if you want. So yeah, this
sounds great. But where, what's next for you? I know you mentioned kind of leaning in on the kids coaching and stuff like that, but where does School of Grit go from here? And, you know, for our listeners, we'll drop links and stuff in the notes, but what's the best way to learn more about what you've got going, what you offer, and just anything like that?
Yeah, so you can find me online if you go to schoolofgrit.org and not .com. I don't own that domain name and I'm not going to pay for it, but yes, schoolofgrit.org. You'll see my website. It's you got how to get a hold of me. I'm an easy person to find. But yeah, like the next iteration is going to be working with kids. So if you remember Javier, who was at the so we're going to do a father-son retreat, basically. Awesome. It's going to be kind of that first week of June next year. We're already in planning stage for it. So the idea behind that is faith and fitness and experiences. So we want to put our kids into situations where there's adversity, right? Could be fear, you could be lost, maybe a little hungry. I don't know. I mean, nothing too crazy, right? But I want them to experience a little bit of that, because then they need to know what to think about or who to go to for help and stuff like that. So I don't give too many details away on this, but it'll be a camp. That'll be a lot of fun. And again, we'll do a lot of cool stuff, though, a lot of cool experiences, a lot of bonding. So that's
what ages?
That's going to be middle school to high school age. Yeah. For the boys out there. Yep. So there's that. And then I'm actually working on just some online courses that basically accompany my book, but then also go a little bit deeper into like a lot of the topics that we've been talking about, like, you know, my version of how to build grit, you know, things such as those. Yeah. So, and then I don't know. I mean, I try to keep myself open, and I go to whatever kind of feels right and lines up with my mission, and we'll see. We'll see. But that's where the direction's going.
It's a good brand. It's a good mindset. It's a lot you could do with it. Hell, you could launch a podcast today, and I mean, it would do really well just with the title itself. And we talked about it when we were in Utah, but you need to go do an audible version of.
I know, man. I do need to do an audible version. You're like, I've been told that so many times. I'm literally writing that down. I'm about make that happen.
And you've got a good voice for it. So like, it would, you know, if you're going to do it, read it yourself, because I think it would be good. And you know, that oftentimes for me, and this is just the way my brain works, is the barrier between me and reading a book. If there's not an audible version, a lot of times it takes me so long to get through a book, you know. But
well, like you said, man, with going back to Can't Hurt Me, I listened to it before I actually bought the book, because it's better, because he gets asked. It's like a podcast, right? You're getting asked questions, and man, that's one book I still pull out like once a year and read. Or listen, actually probably more listen to. And when I usually do it is like if I'm doing a long run or something, and I'm hurting, I'm like, I'm gonna put on some Goggins right here. Yeah. Just listen to it.
That one is a reoccurring book for me, and Jocko Extreme Ownership. That one,
Great.
just that one always was a good one. So, Brad, it took a little more of your time than anticipated, but man, you got so much, and I don't even think we scratched the surface with a lot of this stuff. So we will do a round.
I got a lot more for you, brother. Yeah, it's
There
been a
you go.
pleasure. Yeah.
Let's go. So, keep me posted on the father-son deal. I'd like to. I mean, we'd be happy once you have some material together for that. We're happy to promote it on our platforms. My son's probably not old enough yet for that group, but yeah, I'd love to promote it and
Right on.
help you guys out there. And dude, you've been a pleasure to get to know. I hope we can keep the relationship going and communication going. I love meeting people that we met through doing something like that was uncomfortable for our daughters, right?
Sure.
To come in and meet all those people.
Well, for the dads too. Like,
Yeah.
some guys don't like meeting people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm more of. There's times I don't want to talk though. Let's just put,
Yeah,
I
agree.
be by myself.
Yeah, but I mean, like my daughter, it may not have seemed like it to all of y'all, but she was a ball of nerves coming there, and the way she deals with that is just leans into being funny and silly and all that. But it was experiences like that, man. Your daughter, my daughter, all those other girls there, that isn't something that's going to go away anytime soon, right? There, and we've came away from that with a lot of takeaways just in our relationship. And we kind of we developed like 3 core principles of who we are as a family, and they're pretty simple, but life is an adventure. We figure stuff out, and God, I'm blanking on the third one. Figure stuff out, life is an adventure, and God, she's gonna kill me right here. Yeah,
Come on,
you get it. Listen, it's on her wall now. I printed it off on her wall. We figure stuff out. Life is an adventure, and it'll come to me in a minute. But
You gotta tattoo it now.
yeah, I know. I feel so bad for forgetting that because it was her stuff she came up with. But no, Brad, I really do sincerely mean that, man. You are bringing a lot of value. You brought a lot of value, and you will, to my audience. And I can't thank you enough, man. So, is there anything else, any mindset thoughts or anything you want to wrap up with?
I mean, I get asked this sometimes, but if you're just looking for a place to start building grit, it starts right now. So go do 50 burpees and let me know how you feel. Right? It's that simple.
Love it.
Don't overthink it, man. Just go.
Yeah. 50 burpees. Once you get to about 20, you'll realize it.
Absolutely. That's the key part, right? You got to
Right.
get to that point. Everybody's different where it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. This hard. This sucks. It's like, good. You're in the right place. You're in the right place.
Yeah. That's good.
Awesome,
man.
brother. Well, I appreciate you having me on, Jason. It's been a lot of fun.
Yep. I appreciate it. And thanks for joining us on Burning the Ships. And we'll see y'all next time. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Burning the Ships podcast. As always, we want to thank our sponsor, 608B Capital. We are a short-term lending fund, a debt fund, open for investors who are looking for a passive return. And also we offer products our main product to fix and flippers and buy and holders, folks that are doing things like that in real estate. Also want to remind you about our referral program. Check out our website for more information on that, and we're happy to talk to you further if you're interested. Again, thank you for joining us on Burning the Ships, and do me a favor and go out and try to find someone or some way that you can add value into the world today. Think through it, zoom out, and try to find where you can add value. I think it'll help wrap up your day, wrap up your week, whatever you're working on a positive note if you constantly think that way. Where can I add value? So with that, we thank you for joining us on another episode of Burning the Ships. Have a good one.